Here at the Brave New Teaching Podcast, we are always looking for the newest, most engaging, and fantastic books for you, the teachers, to step up your game and enhance your practice. And we have a brand new book recommendation for you that we just couldn't wait for an entire episode to share. If you are looking for a professional development book that's going to serve you over this winter break, or maybe even as a gift to a fellow educator, we have got your next recommendation. You need to check out Roll Call by Dr. Jenna Copper. As you know, Dr. Jenna Copper is one of the greatest friends we have over here at the podcast. You have downloaded her interview with Marie almost more than any other episode. So I know that a lot of you have heard Jenna and her work and what she's up to. So not only should you listen to that episode, but you need to check out Jenna's brand new book. This book is phenomenal. And as you know, Dr. Copper is an education professor and former English teacher. So she's in everything from teaching students to teaching teachers. And she has written the ultimate guide to creating lessons that will really and truly captivate your students while still meeting those all-important standards. This book, Roll Call, is packed with practical strategies and innovative ideas that will transform your classroom. And for a very special bonus time, Jenna is offering an exclusive perspective plan toolkit absolutely free when you purchase Roll Call. It's going to be so awesome, and you are going to love all of the new ideas that you get. You can buy Jenna's book right now on Amazon. So head over to Amazon.com. Find your copy of Roll Call, and then once you have your order, you're going to go to rollcallbonus.com. That's ROLECALLBONUS.com, Roll Call Bonus, or head to today's show notes and claim your free perspective plan toolkit. It's a freebie right now when she's launching her book for the very first time. It's not going to linger around for very long. Your students will thank you, and you're going to thank you, because this is going to make you feel good about teaching and really amp up your energy. We're so excited for you to read it yourselves and let us know what you think. Talk to you soon and enjoy the show.
Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching. Hello, Amanda.
Oh, hey, Marie.
Hello, friends out there. If you are just tuning in this year, you are on episode 3 of our New Year's series. And today it's New Year, New Strategies. And it's less of new strategies, truly. Like, let's just, be super transparent. It's more new refocusing on the strategies that we want to put front and center of our teaching.
Yeah. In the new year, what are we going to prioritize?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what, episode 230, 40 something. I mean, we've really narrowed down our favorites, the tried and true, the things that we know work. We really wanted to dedicate this episode to that new perspective on what strategies are going to take the energy, because we only have so much, right? Your bandwidth is only so much.
Yeah.
What is worth your time and energy in 2025?
Yeah. And then, you know what we will do is link some episodes where we have past episodes where we have talked about specifics amongst these strategies. But like, we've got 4 things that like I am going to personally in my classroom be pushing my focus on, and that Amanda is going to be coaching her teachers on pushing, like really centering their focus on these things, because we are seeing that that's what kids need. And so let's not try the things that kids don't need. Let's do the things that kids do need. Yeah.
Our new focus, our new, the
new year, new focus. I like that.
When new strategies come up, just like last week we talked about technology. I think it's the same thing. Strategies can be the same shiny object syndrome as new tech. If there are places in our curriculum and in what we're doing that are holes or are not serving us, that's where we might be looking for new things to fill those problems. Sure. But if things are going well, we can carry on.
We can keep going. Maybe, just adapt a little bit here and there. But for the most part, I can tell you that all the things we're talking about today, there are some holes just in some of my practice that's currently right now. So I'm going to like revamp and go back to things I used to do, but I want to have that intention, that new intention on my focus and strategy. Okay. We are going to actually talk about real things soon instead of like giving the prelude to things endlessly. But first, it's time to cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a high school teacher from Southern California.
Join us after the show and happy hour to extend your BNT experience with instant access to our resources, workshops, and courses.
Visit shop.bravenewteaching.com/happy hour to join us today. We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. All right, Amanda, do you want to kick us off with like the big one that we're really going to put our focus on?
Well, for me, and this is from K through 12, what I have seen is the classroom is such a unique space where critical thinking happens and is or can be taught.
Yes.
A lot of what I have been seeing is teachers scrambling to deliver content. And right, been there. This is not anything about
not
change.
A critique.
This is about the reality of where we are. We're kind of, a lot of us are feeling the panic to deliver.
Yeah.
When I wanted to kind of offer this like reminder that the space of a classroom is uniquely situated for the space of critical thinking, especially in the forms of writing and discussion. And so where and when we're feeling shackled, and we're going to talk about some of those things, there's a lot of mandates and expectations that are floating around that are making life hard. I think for me, a lens that I'm trying to encourage teachers to remember is the opportunity to focus on critical thinking and like to let it be hard. And that's reminding kids that that's where things are happening.
I know we said we weren't going to dig into the weeds of strategies, but I will say that one thing in both my parenting and my teaching that takes more time than it would, and this is going to, some of you out there who have been teaching a long time like us are going to be like, yeah, duh. But saying it out loud, answering a question with leading questions is one of the best ways to help kids realize that they already know their own answers and they were trying to make you do things for them.
Yep.
But that critical thinking piece, just yesterday, we were cleaning up our backyard. My 11-year-old is like, what do I do next? And I say, what do you think you should do next? And he looks down and he goes, I can pick up that gigantic extension cord. And I go, do you think you can pick up that extension cord? He goes, how should I do it? And I said, how do you think you should do it? And it sounds condescending, and it wasn't. I didn't deliver it like, whoa. It was just kind of like, I don't know, bud, how do you want to do it? Like, I know how I would do it, but how are you going to? You're smaller than me. How are you going to deal with that 20-foot extension cord? And so it took him a very long time. So part of the strategy has patience baked into it, or just walking away and then coming back later and watching them still struggle. But like, he did it. It's kind of a mess, but he did it. Yes, that answering questions with like leading prompting questions is hard, but it's helpful.
This is the foundation of our podcast, right? We are inquiry teachers.
Yep.
And that what that means is that we are constantly in search of ways to center problem solution style teaching.
Yep.
And we're working a lot with a particular school. This is really hard to wrap your head around in ELA sometimes. I feel like there are a lot of like very natural ways that this presents itself in science and math and some of those non-literary subject areas, but there are still a lot of ways that we get tripped up with how to center problems and look for solutions with literature. And I think that for me is going to be something that I'm going to try to create more tools and more ways to help teachers do that. And like the number one strategy for me is I always ask teachers when they're planning, I ask them, so what? You have to ask that before the kids do.
Yeah.
I also say, and this is going to ruin our rating, but I also say, like, you need to think like a kid. And the question is, who gives a shit? Totally. You just did 2 days of a lesson on different types of characterization, flat characters, static characters, round characters, dynamic characters. Who gives a shit? So if you can answer that question in your planning and knowing why, we give lots of poops. That's where we want to be planning from. Like anticipate that.
Yeah.
Because then your lessons are going to be about, well, we have this really dynamic character, insert person's name here, and the static. There's a problem.
Yeah.
What are these two types of characters solving in this conflict? Or what, right? Like that's where learning's interesting. And that's where critical thinking happens. But if we're going to be like delivering vocab, delivering techniques, delivering definitions, we're going to continue to struggle.
But maybe that is what needs to be delivered. But if we don't have a solid who gives and the why, because that who gives and the why is what leads to students having something to say when they write and talk and discuss, and those skills being actually built instead of having to like muscle it out of them as hard as we have to. Okay, let's talk about the other 3 ways that we are going to be centering and just refocusing our strategies. One is one of our favorite things, which is systems and routines. I feel like there was a long part of my early career, early to mid, at least at this point, I don't know if I'm mid-career right now or what, that having systems and routines felt like it was going to get boring for kids. Like it felt like doing the same thing every day was going to be really boring. And it legitimately took until I went and worked in elementary classrooms to go, oh, no, that's just anti-anxiety medication for a classroom function is what it is. Yeah. Systems and routines. And so that's where my focus is going to go back to reteaching and redefining some of those routines to make them work even better. Just like shine them up.
Again, like if we only have a certain amount of bandwidth, I would definitely make this part of that bit. I think there's a lot investing in your systems and routines regularly.
Yeah.
I think the results are always in your favor, even if it's just a little bit. I mean, it's just like yourself at home, and it's yourself, the way you take care of yourself in other parts of your life. I don't know. I'll speak from personal experience. I struggle with this in my personal life, but I'm really good at it in the classroom.
Right.
I don't know why, but so maybe we're the opposite, listeners. But for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, make a home cooked meal for myself with nutrients and good things. That sounds like a waste of time. And like consistently making that choice is not a good thing for me. But I think that when we do invest in the things that make our classroom work well, move smoothly, it helps every part of the organism of your classroom. Just as having more bean salad would do for my health.
I love you.
I mean, it's true. And I don't know. That's just me. Like, I get it. I can see where it feels like you only have so much time. Why would you spend time retooling your bell work routine? Or why would you invest your time in changing up the way that you do your exit slips, or the way that you do, X, Y, and Z type of lesson, like your close reading lessons? Why not just like give them up if they're not working and move on? I think it's worth fighting to find the routines and lesson styles that work well for you, because when they really function at a high level, they're lubricated and they're all moving along. I said it.
Good old gears. Yep. We're going to keep everybody's mind in the right place.
Please be clean here. But yes, it's good for everyone. It's good for learning. Yeah. It's good for the kids. It's good for the anxiety. It's good for the ADHD. It's good for the teacher. It's good for everyone.
And the thing with systems and routines, that's why it's new strategies. You might have a system and a routine that works well, but is not quite functioning optimally with this group of kids. That's because every group of kids is different. And I teach on a quarter system, as I've said many times on the podcast. So in January, mid-January, I will get all new kids, and it's another first day of school. And so they are going to be they're going to be a few things. They're going to be better at school than the juniors who I started with in August in my English classes. They're like, these juniors are just better at school because it's January. They've already been doing it for half a year. They're also going to move a lot faster because they are better at school, which means that my systems and my routines need to accommodate that. I can't be taking as much time as I had to take in August, right? So it's just that like constant responsiveness. That's where those new strategies or old strategies made new will come into place. So
I think our next one goes right along
exactly
right along with this.
So whereas I'm talking about, it's not really broken, but it still needs to get fixed or like changed or massaged a bit. If it's really not broken and it's working, it's not going to be boring. Just stay consistent. be consistent with what works. That new strategy coming in here is finding ways to be consistent and finding ways to just keep the train moving.
Yep.
So that kids know what to expect, you know what to expect. And truly, even if it gets a little rote for kids, if something is working and you can stay consistent with it, guess what will be saved? Your energy, which means that you'll be able to give kids some of the attention that they need in a different way because you're not having to pay attention to the what and the how you're doing things because it's consistent and you can stay with it. And instead you're able to develop those relationships or give them that one-on-one attention or whatever it is. Like you can budget your own time and energy more efficiently.
I'm telling you, now that I'm in this part of my career, it's so wild. Like the first thing I notice about a classroom is whether or not the teacher is consistent or I would say consistent or unpredictable. You can be inconsistent. Like that's just being human, right? I'm not going to say those are not the only two choices, but I've seen the polar opposites are unpredictable and consistency have two totally different feels in the room. And to be honest, two totally different results with kids.
Totally. To speak to that, I can tell you my own classroom is consistent in that kids know who they're going to get and what they're going to get from me and what types of things that they're going to get. My policies are consistent, right? The way we do things is consistent, but I could change what we're doing on a dime.
Yes.
And they're able to go with me for the most part.
But that's what makes you an exceptional educator. I mean,
thank you. But no, I just mean that's the difference there. It's not like it's more of a back to your routines, basically. Like be consistent with what they can expect so that then you can throw in a curveball with a little bit of what it looks like. My close read is something they can expect, but it just might come in a different format.
But if you throw that curveball in a room that's always unpredictable and never consistent, this is a really hard conversation to have because I know that we're having a crisis, right? The kids are not okay. Nope. Kids are struggling. Yep. They're really having a hard time. And I've seen this. The most firsthand experience I've had is with my own little kids, and they're learning how to do school post-pandemic, and it's hard for them. You know, they didn't even have to go through the pandemic, and kids are different. This time in our lives is just different. But what we can do is what we should focus on. What can we do? And like really being not hard on ourselves, but reflecting on the right things. If we're trying to grasp at straws and working on all the wrong things, then that's really difficult. I would say
exhausting. Yeah.
You're going to burn yourself out, but being consistent with all the things Marie just described or working toward that goal. These are the goals that are worth pursuing and you're going to get good at that. It doesn't look shiny and gorgeous if you put it on a reflection document for the end of the year or whatever your department's asking you for. I get it. Like my goal with my therapist for 2024 was maintain. That was my vision. My word of the year was maintain. Like that sounds so depressing, but it's true. But it was something that it was really hard. And I don't think I accomplished it, but we tried.
I think you did great.
Well,
but also just like to be able to breathe. Like that's part of what that is.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Really fast. We just want to talk about the proverbial elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Which is we don't know what's happening with the state of education. We're going to have mandates, possibly. We are going to have quite a few things, no matter what actually does or doesn't happen in education throughout the United States specifically, because that's where we are. So that's what we can speak to. I know we have an international audience, but like we can speak to that. And we are in two different states. Amanda's in Illinois and I am in California. Where am I? I'm in California. Physically, I'm in California. Spiritually, it's unclear. But what we do know for sure is that there's going to be a lot of speculation, and that speculation creates unease and anxiety. And so figuring out how to manage that is going to be key. And that truly, we can give you ideas. We have different ways that you can manage like text mandates and teaching old texts with the new lens. Like we have a ton of episodes on that, but it's just more we want to leave you today with the take time to figure out what is going to be good for you or how to recognize when you're like having that rising panic or anxiety or however it comes out of like what is happening to education. how are you going to be able to handle that for yourself? How are you going to recognize when those things are coming up so that you can do what you need to do to be okay to be in front of a group of kids? That's for me, that's the focus. It's like, I'm not going to be okay every day, but how am I going to take care of it to make sure that I am okay for an hour and 30 minutes to be in front of a group of kids at a time?
I shall remind us of the words of astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
This too shall pass.
He
has said that multiple times in recent interviews, and it is comforting to hear from someone who studies the entire universe.
Right.
To bring and remind us of the perspective of like zoom out.
Right.
Zoom out. Education's always changing. Mandates are always changing. Expectations are always changing. Everything's always changing. And so in that vein, with things always changing, you just need to stay grounded.
Yeah. Do what you got to do.
And stay grounded to what you believe is important, what you believe is necessary, and do what you can do and try not to get lost in all the things that you can't control.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And we're here for you because we're all in it with you.
Yeah.
We
can't speak to specifics because we're not in everybody's state, but like to that point, we get it.
We totally get it. And so in the next episode, so in the final episode of our 4-part series here, we are going to talk a little bit more about new perspectives. And so this will be kind of a more theoretical, philosophical type of episode. So if you really want to listen to that, that's going to be coming up next week.
Absolutely. All right, friends. We hope you have a wonderful week at school. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, head to the show notes as always for links, and head to Happy Hour if you have not already joined us in Happy Hour. We would love to have you, bravenewteaching.com/happy hour. And if you already are there, make sure that you get all of your organizational tools and materials, because that is our focus in the month of January. As this is coming out next month, we'll have some other cool stuff and resources for you, and it's all there in Happy Hour. All right, friends. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in Happy Hour and the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here, and have a great week at school.